There are two types of games. One could be described as finite, while the other is endless. A confined game is one in which the goal is to win, whereas an endless game is one in which the goal is to keep playing. Hello there everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to talk about video games featuring sub-bosses that have surprise second phases. Nothing gives a gamer a better sense of satisfaction than returning the game's boss to the enigmatic depths from which it came. At the same time, nothing makes a player want to slam their controller more than a boss that refuses to give up. Since the inception of video games, bosses have been there. Bosses can also mark the conclusion of a level, indicating that the player has got the ability to go to the next section of the story. For a while, it appeared as if video game bosses were swiftly becoming obsolete. Let's take a look at the 10 most difficult video game bosses ever. Number 10. Granny Rags, Dishonored, 2012. Dishonored's villains aren't portrayed as bosses in the classic sense. The locations they're in are most of the time the main obstacle, and killing your target might often be as simple as creeping up behind them and running through them. Granny Rags, one of the most beloved characters in the series, is only a villain if you make her one. If you don't ignore the reality that she is kidnapping and cooking people alive. Granny is prepared to murder and cook Slackjaw, the Bottle Street Gang's leader, at the close of Chapter 7. She will appear to die if you choose to assassinate her right away. Number 9. Ludwig the Accursed. A 2-in-1 fight. Ludwig is a monstrous and savage beast during the first part of the fight, and you'd think that ducking is the best way to deal with him, but you'd be incorrect. For that, he's far too abrasive. Instead, players must get near, particularly in the second half, when Ludwig awakens and obtains a massive holy blade. Allowing any kind of gap at that stage is far riskier, but Ludwig obtains abilities to punish you if you approach too close. Ludwig isn't a particularly amusing individual. At least the soundtrack is fantastic. Number 8. M. Bison, Street Fighter 2. M. Bison, who first appeared in Street Fighter 2: The World Warrior in 1991, is the player's final opponent if they survive Sagat. M. Bison is a ruthless fighter with considerably more powerful moves than any of his opponents. Even being thrown by the criminal overlord can deplete a player's vitality by a third. Therefore, staying away for the majority of the fight is essential. Using a character with projectile attacks will give you a tiny advantage in this fight, but beating M. Bison will come down to a lot of trial and error. Number 7. Mike Tyson, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Taking down Mike Tyson is no easy task, even if the player makes it to the dream fight of this 1987 combat game. The player's Little Mac is dwarfed by the opponent, who has a far lesser arsenal of moves and deals far less damage. The world-class boxer must be defeated using a certain strategy. To begin, you must precisely dodge Tyson's strikes in order to free yourself up to counterpunch as quickly as possible. You should also try to hit Tyson on the opposite side of the body, as this will virtually double the damage. The secret to winning this battle is just to react. Don't try to foresee Tyson's next move. Dodging when you don't have to will get you knocked out quickly. Number 6. The Nameless King, Dark Souls 3. The Nameless King is an optional fight in Dark Souls 3, which makes sense because this could be the series' most difficult encounter. The King's dragon must be defeated first. It's tempting to keep your distance, but doing so will cause the dragon to take flight, which is never a good thing. When an opportunity arises, stay close and shoot for the head. The Nameless King's strikes are swift and destructive, making the second phase considerably more difficult. Even one erroneous roll can lead to swift defeat. The only real technique is memorizing the Nameless King's assaults and dodging or blocking them at precisely the right time. In other terms, there are no quick outs or shortcuts in this boss fight. Number 5. Senator Armstrong, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Senator Armstrong, the game's last boss, is a member of the covert military organization Desperado Enforcement, which serves as the game's main enemy. To take down the hidden organization, players must take on the role of the cyborg Raiden, which culminates in an epic boss fight against Armstrong. Because of the nanomachines that are one with his body, the Senator's durability and strength have risen. While Armstrong's enhanced strength makes this a difficult encounter, the opponent's attacks are well coordinated. Armstrong is easy to defeat because you can always see his ranged attacks coming. All you have to do is dodge and then dash in at the proper time. Armstrong is a much more feasible boss once you take him down to 100% HP, so being patient throughout the first half of the encounter is crucial. Number 4. Dark Knot, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess 2008. Darknut Knights are frequent opponents in the Legend of Zelda series, usually appearing as sub-bosses or other formidable foes for Link to defeat. This is especially true in Twilight Princess for Wii, where one particularly well-dressed Darknut gives you the runaround at the Temple of Time. Its sheer size should indicate how formidable an opponent it will be, and once the fight begins, you'll find yourself flipping and scampering all over the arena just to avoid its powerful sword blows. Each time you strike it, a piece of its armor falls off, and you're probably thinking that you need to uncover weakness and eliminate the tin pot horror that way. However, this isn't entirely accurate. You must first totally remove its armor, after which the individual inside will attack you with a much faster and more ninja-like combat style. Number 3. Goro. Mortal Kombat. Any of Mortal Kombat's original trilogy bosses are difficult to defeat, although Goro from the original 1992 game is slightly more difficult than both Shao Kahn and Shang Tsung. Goro is a half-human, half-dragon beast who has been the tournament's champion for the past 500 years, according to legend. His additional arms let him grasp the player and inflict enormous damage all at once. Goro can even launch projectiles, making him a menace from afar. While the second-to-last monster may be defeated by any character with enough experience, using Sub-Zero's freeze moves to temporarily stun the enemy and open him up for a second strike is one of the easiest methods to defeat Goro. Number 2. Final Fantasy VIII. Ultimecia only wants infinite power, so she strikes a deal with a bigger evil that ends up becoming her undoing. Girls just wanna have fun. You're also randomly allocated a party member for this battle, rather than being able to choose your strongest warriors. This implies that if you haven't kept up with all of your characters, the chances are stacked against you even before you begin. Ultimecia's forms start out regular and quickly spiral out of control, including a completely different boss that she summons and then combines with. It just gets crazier from then, reaching a degree of spectacle that is still exceptional today. And number 1. Skolas. Destiny. Skolas, the last boss in the House of Wolves expansion, is arguably Destiny's most difficult monster to vanquish. Skolas was subject to weekly challenges when the growth originally launched. This would keep dedicated players on their toes as they worked for hours with their colleagues to take down Skolas. Because the combat was so punishing, the game's developers finally reversed some of the tweaks and reduced Skolas' HP to half in order to make the fight more balanced. Taking down the Kell of Kells, however, still necessitates a seasoned squad of players that know how to collaborate effectively. Otherwise, Skolas' army of fallen will very certainly wipe them out before the battle even begins. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like. If you're new to our channel, you will also see a red color subscribe button. Hit it and press the bell icon so that you don't miss any new updates. Thank you for joining us today.